Hi, I have two questions now. One is, if death is evident in every living organism, if all living organisms are mortal, how the vast number of plants and animal species continue to exist, right? So, in the previous recording, we came to know that every living organism has to die. So, if that is the case, how can we see this vast number of plant and animal species on this planet currently? And the second question is, which process ensures the continuity of living organisms? Yes, you all know that reproduction is a biological process. What is the significance of reproduction? A biological process called reproduction, it ensures the continuity of living organisms on this planet, right? So, what happens in reproduction? In reproduction, an organism gives rise to a young one called as an offspring. An organism gives rise to a young one called as an offspring. Now, here every organism has a cycle. An organism, immediately after its birth, it will grow, it reaches to maturity. Once it reaches to maturity, it undergoes reproduction, where it produces offspring, that is young ones which are similar to the parent, and after reproduction it will grow older and ultimately it will die. This is the whole cycle of every living organism: birth, growth, maturity, reproduction, getting older, and it will die ultimately. So, the process by which the organism is able to produce the offspring which are similar to the parent, they are not identical, please note, they are similar to the parent, that process is called as reproduction. So, there are so many varieties of organisms on this planet. Each organism has its own mechanism of reproduction. Each organism has its own mechanism of reproduction. Now, let us solve a question here. There are various types of reproduction. Yes, every organism has its own mechanism of reproduction. The type of reproduction adopted by an organism depends on, yes, every organism has its own mechanism of reproduction. Now, the question is, which mechanism the organism adopts depends on the following. What are the following? It depends on the morphology and physiology of the organism. It depends on the habitat and morphology of the organism. It depends on only morphology, or it depends on the organism's habitat, physiology, and the genetic makeup. So, the kind of reproductive mechanism an organism adapts depends on the genetic makeup, the internal physiology, and the habitat of the organism, right?